All right, so welcome back to the Timber Frame Gazebo project. So if you remember in the last video, I cut the mortises in all of the posts. So there's 4 posts, 2 mortises up at the top per post. So those are all cut and ready to go. So in this episode, I've got to cut the tenons to go into those posts. So if you also remember in the last video in my sample piece, the tenons meet in the center of the post. So I've got to cut a 45-degree angle on all the tenons so they meet, so I get as much tenon meat in each mortise as possible to give me as much strength. So I'll be doing that as well. So let's jump into laying out the tenons and cutting them, and then doing the 45s and fitting them into our sample mortise. Okay, so now that we have cut out all of the mortises for on the posts, it's time to work on the tenons. And I'm laying the tenons out essentially the exact same way as I laid out the mortises. So using my square, I strike a baseline down 4 inches. And the reason it's 4 inches is because the mortise is 4 inches deep. So the tenon is going to be 4 inches long. So my baseline comes down 4 inches, and I strike that all the way around. And then I come in an inch from this edge, because that's what this spacing is here. And then I use my sample block and get my measurement, strike a line on the other side, do that on both ends. And then if you remember, I said I'm going to cut the end of the tenon at a 45-degree angle, because the 2 tenons are going to meet in the center. So I want to cut both tenons at 45 degrees, so they seat fully in. So of course 45 and 45 makes a 90, so they'll meet together in the center. So basically I mark everything out, both ends of the beam, and then I take my X-Acto knife, same as I did with the mortises. I take my X-Acto knife and score a line, again quite deep. Score a line down, so I've got nice marks to start with. So now what I have to do is start removing the waste. So I have to remove all of this waste here and this waste here. So this whole chunk is going to come off, this whole chunk is going to come off, and then eventually I'll start working on this 45 degree. So the way I'm going to remove the wastes is I'm first going to make a whole bunch of score lines with a circular saw. Now my circular saw will not go on this long side, deep side. It won't go all the way down. So I'll do as deep as I can, score lines, knock off all that stuff, and then just use my chisel to chip down to this line. And that's what we're going to do next. Is take out the waste here, roll the beam over, take out the waste here, and we'll do that on both ends. Once that's done, then we'll talk about doing the actual working on the actual tenon. So that's what's next. Okay, so before I hit this with the circular saw or chisels, what I like to do is cut down my baseline with my handsaw. And the reason I like to do it with the handsaw is I can control it much better, so I don't have a chance of going past my baseline with the circular saw, which would not be good. But it also gives a nice fine cut. So it doesn't take too much time. So I cut knock down the baseline to remove this chunk. Make sure I'm following my score line on the other side. I don't wander off. Get down to the tenon, but I don't want to go into the tenon. There. Okay, so I've got a nice nice score line there. So this is the chunk I'm going to remove. So I'll use a circular saw. I think I have to move a little bit. Okay, so I just want to score down. There. So once I've scored down, then I can take my mallet, and sometimes just whack it and you get chunks coming off, which is a good way of starting the process. And then I start working at the chunks that are left with the chisel. Now my mark, my baseline, my score line is right there. So just like with the mortises, I want to be careful not to go past that. And luckily this is pretty straight grained, so it splits quite nicely. But as I get closer, I want to take smaller chunks to just so I can control the it a bit better. Okay, so I'm basically right there. It's splitting off really nicely. So now that I'm basically at my baseline, I just want to come in with the chisel and just do a little bit of hand work, cleaning things up a little bit. Check. I'm still a little high in the center. I'm right on the baseline that side, right on the baseline that side. So I just have a little bit to take off in the center. Almost there. that is there, straight across all the way. So a little bit on this edge to take off. Looks pretty much perfect. Okay, so now that that face is done, roll it over, and I'll do this this smaller face exactly the same way. Use the circular saw. That with this side, I can go a bit closer to the baseline with a circular saw, and then come in again with the chisel and clean it up to the right depth. Again, using the handsaw. Double check, make sure that I'm not going to go past my line, and that's good. And then fairly quick way to remove a good chunk of material. And the same with the other side. I'm pretty close to my baseline right here, so I want to be really careful. I think the grain is going to work in our favor, I hope anyway. Of course, this isn't as much material to remove with the chisel. And again, now that I'm down pretty close, get a little bit more control when I not use the mallet and just use the chisel. Less risk of going past my mark. Pretty close. Sometimes what I'll do is come in on the side, right along the baseline, and I can just, there's that chunk there. So now I've got a really clear reference, baseline wise, where I want to get to. Looks like our neighbor's getting a delivery of some sort. That's the noise you can hear in the background. Just got dropped off like an outdoor patio set. Got this side here, and basically right on the baseline, right on my mark. I don't want to go down any further there. And looks like a little bit more in here. So you don't want to rush this part, because you want it to fit, of course, nice and snug into the mortise. So if it's too tight to begin with, it's always, of course, much easier to take off a little bit more wood than it is to put it back on. So go across the grain. Pretty close. A little bit high, right in here. There, that's got it perfectly. Alright, so now that we've got the two faces done, then we Now we work on the 45-degree angle. So that's what we'll do next. Okay, so to do the 45-degree angle, marked it all out. Now the best way I've found to do it is just using my saw and getting fairly close to the line all the way down, and then where needed, come in with my chisel and clean it up. But the saw usually, I don't have very much of a stroke that I can do with the saw, not much space. But as long as I'm not over the line, and close to the line, then I just come in with the chisel and do a bit of cleaning up. And that seems to work not too bad so far. Go. So pretty close. Pretty close. I went off a little bit here, but luckily it was the right way and I left my line. So I just come in with the chisel and just start cleaning that up, which I'll do now. You don't want to take too much off that one shot. Get it right in that score mark. And come in and just shave off a little bit just to clean it up. To go around the other side to get over here. Same sort of thing, just shaving a little bit off. Just to clean up that angle. There. That's pretty good. So when we actually go to fit all of the tenons and the mortises, we can do any fine tuning if some of them are maybe just slightly off by a bit, too long, so they don't meet properly. Then we can fine tune each one individually. But that's that. So let's take a look at how it fits into our practice mortise. Well, I almost forgot. Before we can fit it into our practice mortise or tester mortise, I have to take off a little bit along the top, because if you remember, we've got this amount up at the top of the mortise, so we've got to take this off so it'll fit. So sort of a rinse and repeat situation. Use the saw to cut down along the baseline. Without going past, I hope, the baseline, which looks good. Now I could use the circular saw and chip away, but this is small enough. If I can find my mallet, there it is. This is small enough that what I found is I can usually just whack away at it with the chisel. And it doesn't take long. Again, being careful when I get close to my line. Just a little bit of cleaning up to do. That's pretty good, I think. The line there and on that side, so we'll give it a try. See where we're at. I think maybe just just a touch more. And go and take off just a wee bit more. Yeah, let's give that one a try. That I think is a bit better. And inside, good, we're not bottoming out, so that's good. So I'll take the camera off. And we can take a look at the joint the way it sits right now. All right, so there's the joint we just did, and there's the inside. A little bit hard to see on camera, but you can sort of see the 45 degree, and that's the way it's gonna sit. And then of course the other beam is going to come in this way and sit that way. So from there, there's not much left to do on that one. That beam is done, so I have to go all flip the beam around and work on the other end. All right, so that's where we are. I have to this point finished all of the mortises in all of the posts, and I'm working on the tenons. Basically, it's just a matter of rinse and repeat for the rest of the tenons, and then the next step will be to marry up the tenons into the mortises and doing any fine tuning if maybe a tenon is a bit too big, shaving a bit off, that sort of thing. So so that'll be the next step. So thank you for watching. Please click like and subscribe, and we will talk to you soon. Bye for now.